Hi, and welcome to Dramatic Knits. My name is Steve, also known as Dramatic Knits, and today is Tuesday, May 14th, 15th, 2019. 14th. I just checked it, but then, in one ear, out the other. This is episode 331 of the Dramatic Knits podcast. If you're a returning viewer, thanks for coming back one more episode. And if you're new, I'm a little frazzle-brained, but what else is new? But hopefully you'll stick with me. I have some awesome things to show and to talk about this week. As you can see, I am once again flying solo. My sister Amanda has been rather busy with her social life, and so she is feeling better. Thank you to everyone who left comments wishing her, a quick recovery. She is feeling better. It was kind of a couple-day thing. But she has been catching up with a friend, one of her best friends, and she spent the night over at her place yesterday, and I believe she's spending the night tonight while her friend's boyfriend's out of town. So she was unable to record, and I didn't want to keep pushing this off because it's already Tuesday. So I figured I would sit down and record with you, but she said she is going to try her best to make sure that she can fit in recording next episode. So let's quickly go into what's been going on in my life in the last 2 weeks. So last time we spoke, we were getting ready to go to South Dakota, and we did that. We drove out a week and a half ago to Rapid City, South Dakota, which is all the way on the west side of South Dakota. It's a little over 14-hour drive from our house. So we left on Thursday. We drove about 12 hours and we stayed about 2 hours out. And then on Friday morning, we set out for the Badlands and we drove through the national park in Badlands, South Dakota. I don't know what town it's in. But then we did the loop where you drive through the whole park and then you pretty much come out and you're in Wall, South Dakota, which is home of Wall Drug. They are known for their free ice water, their 5-cent coffee, and their billboards all over America telling you how far you are from Wall Drug. So it's a big tourist trap. We got there relatively early in the morning, so it wasn't too bad. Part of it was closed. I don't know, I wanted to see the big T-Rex, and that building was closed, but we got to walk around and see Wall Drug and see what it was. It's in a very, very small town. I did forget to mention, Thursday night we did drive by Mitchell, South Dakota, which is home of the Corn Palace, which they decorate every year on the outside with corn cobs. We did pull off the highway and drove the couple miles to go see it. Unfortunately, we got there at about 5:30. Everything was closed, but we took a picture in front of it and went on our merry way, so I didn't get to get any souvenirs. But I did get souvenirs a lot during this trip because my new thing is now enamel pins because I've fallen down that rabbit hole, which I told myself I wasn't going to. But also getting souvenir mugs at places that the business takes us for sightseeing. And I'm hanging those souvenir mugs on the pegboard that has the yarn wall behind me when I record at the studio. Tonight we're back in my craft room at my house, but hopefully next week we'll be back at the studio. It's just easier when it's by myself to record at home because all my stuff's here. So anyway, so we went to Wall Drug on Friday morning, and then we drove the rest of the way to Rapid City, which is where the Black Hills Fiber Frenzy was being held. And Kim, who is a local yarn store owner out there, puts this on. And we set up on Friday. We had open shopping Friday evening and then all day Saturday. And it was a great group of people. We didn't know what to expect. It surpassed our expectations, which is always good. And it was very much kind of like a crafting weekend retreat. Almost everybody who was there Friday night came on Saturday, and so it was kind of just people hanging out, crafting together. There was a guest speaker in the morning, little breakout sessions here and there, and then of course the small market. So that was kind of a whirlwind. We tore down on Saturday, and then we had a late dinner with Kim, the organizer, as well as her family and a few other vendors and friends. And we went to Dakota Steakhouse, which was really nice, and We had a large group of about 12 people, so they actually gave us a back room and our own room, which was really nice to catch up and get to know folks out there a little bit better, because it was my first time ever traveling to South Dakota. I'd never been to that state before, and now I can mark that off my bucket list. And it had been about 25 years for Andy since he had went out there to go see Mount Rushmore with his mom. So Sunday we decided to stay in South Dakota and do a little sightseeing. So we got up early, went to Mount Rushmore. We got there about 8:30 before the crowds got there, and took some pictures. And then we went down into the little museum area and we watched their quick 15-minute film. And I came out and then everybody was there. It was starting to pick up. And it was a little bit chilly there in the morning. So, we were like, cool, stop by the gift shop, and we were on our way. It was probably the quickest thing we did on all of our sightseeing adventures was to, see Mount Rushmore. But, you see it to take a few pictures and bask in its glory and go on your merry way. So just down the road, we were going to go see Crazy Horse, but we knew it was going to be kind of expensive to go see it. And everybody said, oh, you can see it from Custer State Park. And Custer State Park is supposed to be a beautiful drive. So we decided to just go to Custer State Park and to forego Crazy Horse because we figured we would see it in the park somewhere. We actually did not come across it in our adventures in the park, but let me tell you, Custer State Park in South Dakota is a beautiful location. It is home of the Needles Highway, which is a highway that takes you up into the Needles mountain range, if you so will. But it is also called the Needles because it is very, very narrow at certain points where it's a one car size pass through the mountains, very short tunnel, but through the mountains. And our cargo van just fit. Like, they give you the dimensions when you enter the park of, if you're going to go through the highway, here's what you can fit. We had to bring our mirrors in going through, but there was 2 very narrow passes, but it was a beautiful drive. And we came out of the Needles Highway, and then we went through and got on the wildlife loop, and that's where we got to see all the amazing buffalo and I forget what they're called, some sort of deer. And then also the donkeys were the highlight of the whole entire drive, because the wildlife loop took almost probably an hour because you go at your own pace. It's like your own self-guided safari tour for, South Dakota animals. But people had said, you got to visit the begging, what are they called? Begging burros, the donkeys. And they have this sophisticated way of getting you to stop. So one donkey takes it for the team and gets in front of the car and makes you stop because you're going slow. You're not going real fast, 25 miles maybe. And they kind of step out in front of the car to make you stop and say hi to the donkeys, and the other ones come right up to the window. So we had 2 white ones come right up to the window and start begging for food. We didn't have anything with us, but, a lot of people bring carrots and things like that. So they were begging, they said hi, and then they were like, all right, whatever. They went on to the next car. And then the one who stopped us was a brown one, and he then came to the window and started scratching his head on our rear view or side view mirrors. And he's like, dude, you got anything? And I was like, no, sorry. So I gave him a little rub in between, on the forehead, and he was like, all right, screw you too. So he went on to the next car, and that's what they do all day. So, but they were completely and utterly adorable. And, so we took the nice leisurely drive out of the park, and we hit the road back home around 1:30, and got several hours on the road on Sunday night, and then we drove the rest of the way back home on Monday, and made it back home safe and sound. So everything I've been referencing, I did take a few photos and a quick little video of us driving through the second tunnel. I will put all those at the end. So if you care to stick around, everything was on Instagram. If you saw it there, there's not going to be anything new. But if you care to stick around, I will stick those at the end in a little photo slideshow. So we got back to work, and then Tuesday, we were back at work. I think we even unloaded the van on Monday night when we got home. Tuesday, we were back at work. We worked Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Thursday after work, we hit the road again, driving back to Minnesota. We had just been there 2 weeks ago in Minneapolis. This time we were heading to Lake Elmo, which is just outside of Minneapolis, for Shepherd's Harvest. So after doing such a long drive the previous weekend, Andy really did not want to have to do a full 7-hour stretch and then set up on Friday, which I understand. Normally that would be okay, but since we just did a long drive, no. So he decided we were going to drive to Madison, Wisconsin on Thursday evening and get a hotel, which we did. We stayed at some random hotel that started with an M and then had Grand Hotel, and it might have been Grand in the 80s with lots of salmon pink and gold, but it was fine. It was what it was. And it was relatively cheap. So we stayed in Madison. We went to an Indian restaurant we had been to a couple years ago there that we knew we really liked and had a good dinner. And then we hit the road on Friday morning and drove all the way to Lake Elmo. And then we set up and we were back at our hotel that night. Saturday and Sunday, which was Mother's Day here in the U.S., and so happy belated Mother's Day to all of the mothers out there. Saturday and Sunday, we vended at Shepherd's Harvest. So unfortunately, we were not home to spend Mother's Day with our moms, but we did spend it with all the moms who attended Shepherd's Harvest. A group of our friends showed up on Saturday, and they were at the festival. We got to say hi to them and chit-chat for a little bit, and then we ended up going out to dinner with them for some amazing Mexican, and then we went and had some ice cream and took a quick walk by the river, and it was just really good times with really good friends, and I wish we could do it a lot more often, but we are lucky that we do travel for work, and we do have quite a few friends that we get to see along the way and to catch up with them. So that was a good time. Sunday we vended and then tore down, and Andy and I drove all the way back home. After working and tearing down, we rolled back home about 1 a.m. on Monday morning, and we set our alarms, and we were back at the studio about 8 a.m. on Monday morning, and we got back to work yesterday because we have another show this weekend and one after that and one after that and all the way to July. So we needed to get some yarn dyed, which we've been doing. So that's where Andy is actually at. He went back to the studio after dinner and is rinsing the rest of the yarn that we dyed today. And he will be coming back, and the dogs will go berserk when they hear his car go down the driveway. So he is going to text me when he drives back home, which is like a 2-minute drive. It's 3 blocks away, our studio. But that way I can at least pause the video. So if you see kind of a break in the video, it's because I waited for him to get home and for the dogs to calm down. So anyway, that's, almost 15 minutes of me talking by my lonesome. But we don't usually do a lot of sightseeing on our road trips. So I was really happy that we actually took a day to do that, to enjoy the moment rather than just moving on to the next moment that's going to happen. We took the time to live in that moment and enjoy what we were doing there, which is why we signed on to go to that event in the first place. We knew a almost 15-hour drive to South Dakota for a small venue was not going to be a Stitches event, but we figured if we could fit work in with a sightseeing trip, a small road trip, then we get the best of both worlds. All right, that being said, let's move on to the knitting, shall we? What's taking about this episode? I have the finished object. So on the way to and back from South Dakota, I purely worked on this project because I was like, it's been almost 5 months for a shawl and it needs to be done. So, I finished the Make Your Own Luck by Lisa Ross. I knit this using Black Cat Fibers Nomad Sock in their Melancholia Gradient set. which is a gradient of 10 mini skeins, along with Leading Men Fiber Arts Showstopper in the Darkest Hour colorway. And I used a size 5 US 3.75 millimeter needle. And boy, did this thing grow when I blocked it. So you start off here, you've got the purple, then the magenta, then the red, and you're alternating between garter, stockinette, and a little bit of eyelet lace. And then you've got the orange, the yellow, the green, the teal, the turquoise, and the blue, then the purpley blue, and then you go back to the purple and the magenta. So let's see if I've got both dogs in this room because they want to hang out with me because Dad's not here. So if you see them walking around on the floor behind me, that's what you get. Anyway, so here it is in all of its glory. I've got this whole room I can roll on, but I'm rolling on my bags. All right. So there it is. It is a long one. So I'm excited. I don't know what I'm going to do with this, but I think what I'm going to do is a charity giveaway for the Knitting at the Estate Retreat. So I think we are going to be giving away door prizes for people who are participating in our hat drive. And so I think those door prize tickets will be for higher valued goods, including some of my knitwear and some other things. And you will also be able to probably purchase tickets to go to another charity. I'm not really sure. I'm still kind of toying with that idea. So super happy with this. So it shouldn't have taken me as long as it did, but the rows did get long, even though it's asymmetrical. So, all right, moving right along. What am I working on? So what's performing this episode? First up for me is For Fox's Sake by Maxim Sear. I'm using Leading Men Fiber Arts Dramaturg, which is our TK weight, in London Fog, Rusted, and the Grouch, as well as Box Office in Heirloom. I'm only using Box Office for that one skein because I had it dyed up and I didn't want to wait when I cast this on to dye up a DK weight on that color. And I'm using a size 7 US and 4.5 millimeter needle. It does call for a 6, but I went up a needle size because I am knitting a smaller size than I would normally, and because it is color work in the yoke. So I am maybe 2 inches from the ribbing. This has not gotten a whole lot of love, but as you can see, it was right in front of me, so I am currently working on it actually. But I've got too many crafts anymore. You'll hear about that in a minute. But so you can see the Fox's color work. This is 3-color work, which is not my favorite. I'm good on color work for about another year. But I think once it blocks out, it's going to look amazing, and I can't wait to showcase it at different events. So that's going swimmingly now that I'm out of the color work. Next up for me is a wrap design that I'm currently designing. I'm using Leading Men Fiber Arts Showstopper in the Mary's Jam colorway, along with a Showstopper gradient in the Fruit Salad colorway, on a size 5 US 3.75 millimeter needle. And that one is here. Again, this one hasn't gotten much work at all. Just because I was working on other things, and well, it just hasn't gotten a lot of work. So I did work on the pattern a little bit more one night, typing it up. But this is basically it. It's going to gradiate through stripes, and it's got the lace with the beads and the kind of the floral, the flower motif, and it is offset. But it's not asymmetrical, it's not biased, it's just a straight-on wrap with beads and lace. And it'll go through the gradient and then reverse back through the gradient through the garter stripes, is my plan. So, we shall see. I need to make sure I do some weighing of that. I should bring that to work tomorrow. since my scale is there. And my beads, by the way, are from Bead Biz, so you should check them out. I met them at Pittsburgh for the first time. The next two things are new cast-ons for me. So I cast on my Alpine blanket, as I said I was going to last episode. It's living in one of my knitting pipeline retreat bags. I have plenty of these, but I'm using Sidar Alpine in the Brindle colorway. And I'm using a size 15 US. I don't know what that is in millimeters. Most of what I had heard was, for the blanket, was about cast on 84 stitches and just knit and garter until you run out of yarn and bind off. I guesstimated what 18 stitches would be, and I kept casting on until I had enough yarn to weave in, and I think I'm at like 150 or something like that, because the 80 also did not seem wide enough. So here it is in all of its glory. It's furry gloriness, but it is super, super soft. So I am on, I believe, my third ball already. I have 20, and that's as far as I've gotten. There's only like 36 yards in each of these balls, so goes pretty quick. But again, when you're not used to knitting with those big of needles, and and it's going to get heavier, that can play with your joints and your wrists a little bit. So I don't knit all that long on it. All right, and the last thing that I cast on is a pair of socks. I used my random number generator on my stash, and I picked this skein of yarn, which I picked up at Stitches United last year, so it's just been over a year since I got this. And it is some white birch fiber arts 7525 superwash merino nylon in the History Has Its Eyes on You colorway. It came in two perfectly matched skeins. Do not mind my messy balls. Our automatic ball winder is currently out of commission, and we need to send it in to get fixed. So I bought a cheap Knit Picks one, and boy is the cheap Knit Picks one cheap. Anyway, it's doing the job. So I'm also using Leading Men Fiber Art Showstopper in London Fog number 1, which was pulled from a gradient for cuff, heel, and toe. And here is where we are at. So you can see the yellow and the grays gradiate. I'm not sure how long the repeat was. I saw a swatch of it when I picked it up from her booth last year, but it's been a little bit. So I'm excited. These will be for Andy. I told Andy they could be for him or for one of his family members for Christmas, and he said he liked them. So I usually, since the last pair I knit was for me, I usually switch off between either him or his family and myself. Those are going, and these are knit on a size 1 US, which is a 2.25 millimeter needle, and I do knit them on 2 circs. Top down, 2x2 ribbing, 74 stitches. And that's all that I'm working on. So slightly focused, but enough variety to keep my interest. So moving right along into what's in rehearsal, I don't currently have any plans for anything. I don't see anything finishing up too quickly. So behind the scenes, what am I spinning? Let me move the sweater out of the way. I am still spinning some the first draft Superwash Merino in Spilled Ink. This is still the first 2 ounces. Sadly, the first draft, I went to her website and she has stopped dyeing, at least for the moment, while she focuses on her career. Best of luck to her, and I'm going to enjoy spinning the yarn, or the fiber that I have from her. I believe I have some other fiber. No, I think I spun that already. This might be my last braid of hers. Sad. But I'm happy to use stash, so there's that. All right, moving into In the Scene Shop, all my other crafts. Let's start off with the cross stitch. So, little bit of progress. It's not going to look like much, but it is very small stitches on a very large canvas. And so I am working on a Heaven and Earth design, One for Sorrow. And I'm still on the first page, but here we are. At least you can see some cool modeling happening with the blues, the different shades of blue. This is on 25 count easy grid fabric, so it's already been gridded. It makes it much easier for knowing where your stitches are, especially for a full coverage piece like this. I am doing 2 over 1 half stitch or 10th stitch. This is what I've heard it also called. So, and that will be a blackbird when it is done. I'm also doing 2 different types of weaving now. So the first is on my rigid heddle, which is my Man of Mystery and Imperfection scarf. So I'm using some discontinued Leading Men Fiber Arts Ghostlight, which is not being dyed anymore, but is still in the shop. And I will try to bring it over here so you can see. The warp is Ghostlight in Man of Mystery, and the weft, which is basically what you're seeing here woven up, is Leading Men Fiber Arts Ghostlight in Imperfection. And I'm using a 12 dent reed, so that means 12 strands per inch on the warp. And I'm just doing a non-fancy weaving back and forth, so little bit by little bit that's getting done. But then I started some other weaving. So, the elephant you may have noticed in the room, this is one of my new acquisitions. When in South Dakota, they had a silent auction, which I've never participated in before. But there was a lot of things donated, and one of them was this 5-foot triangle loom. And I have been wanting a triangle loom for probably almost 2 years now. And the one that I really, really would like and see myself in the future getting is one from Hill Creek Yarn Shop. And it is one of their 7-foot adjustable triangle looms with their stands. But that is a quite hefty investment. This, on the other hand, I think retails, I do not know where it came from. To be honest, like what company. But it said it had a retail value of about $180. I went in at 75 or 80. I went in at 80. Somebody had 75 on it. And I got outbid right at the last minute at 82. And I bid 85 and I won. So I got this for $85, and then I bought like a $20 easel, tripod easel on Amazon with the extendable legs to hold it. It is not the best because it does not clamp at the top here, so the triangle can move. But I watched several videos on how to weave on a triangle loom, and I'm trying it out. Now, my yarn is way too thin because your gauge depends on how spaced your nails are on the triangle loom. And I thought mine were pretty close together. What I'm using right now is some Mandala color changing by Lion Brand, which is about a DK weight, and by itself it is way too thin. I mean, you can see right through the shawl, and I'm woven all the way down to here and over here. So you weave back and forth. So you start over here, you go over here, there, and you're going up and down as you're doing it. So you can kind of see I got to the dark section right here. Okay, that's where I'm currently at. What I need to do is hold 2 strands together next time and see how that works. But I'm going to finish this off the way this is because I want to see what type of fabric I get with the single and how open that gauge is and what that does when I take it off the loom. But why I got the 5-foot, even though, because I think it's going to be too small for a shawl. And the reason why I want a 7-foot triangle loom is that I believe I can get a nice size shawl off of a 7-foot loom. But I believe with a 5-foot loom, I could weave one section, and then what you can actually do is weave another triangle separately right on top of it, and then actually crochet join along the top there, and you will then get a square. And I was like, ooh, I could do really cool triangle woven baby blankets. So that is eventually going to be my plan, using some, cheaper big box store yarns, which, again, I tell everybody, I may not use them all that often, but I do believe that they have a place and a time to be used, and this is one of them. So I'm excited to see where that adventure takes me, but between now knitting, spinning, cross stitch, cricket weaving, triangle loom weaving, and crocheting on my granny square blanket, I don't know what else I can do. So time is a bit crunched when I'm home, but I continually work on everything so that it stays in the forefront. Anyway, that being said, I did just get the text that Andy's on his way, so I'm going to pause the video here, and I'll catch you in just a little bit, but it'll be a nanosecond for you. And we're back! Alright, so he's home and ran upstairs and is getting in the shower, and is going to stay up there until I am done recording. So, and surprisingly, the dogs did not bark, like at all, so I could have probably just kept going, but usually they go berserk. So, anyway, let's move on into In the Spotlight. So, let's start off. What are we watching and reading? I've started a new show on Netflix, Andy and I have, so I thought I'd mention that here. It is a Netflix original called Chambers, and it does star several people, but of note is Uma Thurman. The synopsis of it is that a young high school senior of Navajo descent from Arizona essentially has heart failure, and she has a heart transplant from another young white high schooler who died of kind of mysterious death, not really known, and so she receives her heart. And the family of the girl who died reaches out and wants to kind of meet her, and they have her over for dinner, and then they decide to give her a scholarship to the prestigious school that the girl was going to, in order to kind of, help her achieve higher than what she would normally get. We were only 2 episodes in. From there, things kind of get a little weird. She starts having dreams, things of that nature. The family is a little odd, so something is going on, and there is more than just the heart connecting these 2 girls between life and death. So, we're enjoying it so far. Hopefully we will watch another episode here after I'm done recording, and so that's Chambers, and that's available on Netflix. All right, stash enhancement. So besides the loom, that's all I got in South Dakota, other than souvenir gifts and mugs and stuff. When we went to Minnesota this weekend, before the show opened on Saturday, I did a little shopping, but then Andy also surprised me with a little gift that he knew I was having my eye on at several other events. And that gift came from Hello Pearl, which is kind of an all-around yarn shop. But they have various different t-shirts. And I've been looking at this t-shirt, and so he picked up one for me since they had it in my size. And that is the Drama Llama, Only You Can Prevent Drama t-shirt. So I was going to wear this, but you wouldn't have been able to see it anyway, so it's better than I can hold it up. So I'll be sporting that at an event near you whenever we're there. Work this into my show rotation. So, having the drama theme and llama and sheep and fiber and that connection. I thought it was super cute, so thanks to the partner in crime for enabling me on that front. And then at Shepherd's Harvest, we were at the same location that we were in last year, and a lot of the vendors stay in the same location, especially the returning and longtime vendors. Now, about 3 booths down from us is a yarn shop called, it's going to be Crinkle, but you get to see pretty yarn. Love You, and they are out of Sioux Falls, South Dakota. And I don't think they were at the South Dakota show. But anyway, they have a bunch of commercial, big box store kind of yarns, and they're relatively inexpensive. But then there's also super clearance yarns. And so before the show opened on Saturday, I went over and was like, hey, right after it opened, I was like, you know what? My whole group of friends last year got all these sweater lots of yarn, and when I went over there to finally get enabled they never had enough skeins for a sweater for me. So I went over there and I looked at the super discounted yarn, and I fell in love with this color. And I found out from the owner that their mill, which is Brown Sheep Company, produces this. They said they stopped making this color after one run, and they found more of it in the warehouse. So they sent it to them, and they were like, well, I can't get any more, so they're clearancing it. So for $4 a skein, I got some Prairie Spun DK in the Midnight Blue colorway. And yeah, that's a pretty good representation. So I picked up 10 skeins of this. There was 11. They tried to get me to walk home with the 11th skein, but I was like, I'm a big boy, but I know I don't need more than 10 skeins of DK to do a sweater, even if it's cabled. So I just picked a cardigan, no, it's a pullover, kind of like my Rhinebeck sweater with the shawl collar. I picked a cardigan out of my queue to use this with, so I've got 10 skeins of this yarn for $40. That is not bad. So Andy actually okayed me to get that. I was going to go get another Sweaters Lot of yarn, and I was like, you know what? No. No. I have way too many sweaters, lots of yarn that I need to knit through, and several in blue. So, yeah, that was my stash enhancement for this week. I'm sorry, it's not you, it's me. It's been a long day. I actually set my alarm for 6 o'clock so that I could actually get up and maybe enjoy a cup of coffee here at home before I went to the studio, because usually I get up, shower, eat breakfast, and go right over to the studio and make my coffee there. I actually did get to knit for a few minutes. I didn't wake up till like 6:17 or something, but I did get up early, and I was at the studio by like 8:15. Andy made me a breakfast sandwich and then made me a breakfast skillet for dinner. We had biscuits and gravy for dinner last night, so a lot of breakfast. But he was trying to use the biscuits and the gravy up, so, yeah. I ain't complaining. I like breakfast. Anyway, let's move on to Inside the Knitter Studio. So on the Dramatic Knits video podcast group on Ravelry, there is a question and answer thread where you can ask either myself, Amanda, or both of us a question, and we will just go in order and answer one an episode. This week's episode, or this episode's question is, what inspires your yarn colors? I'm so impressed you do a new one every month. Sorry, hold on, I can't read all this. Do you have a plan in mind when you start, or do you play with colors or dye and see what comes out? So, in all honesty, because we're at almost 200 colors, I want to say we're probably at like 185, 186 now. A lot of what we do is experiment with the dyes and different techniques and kind of see what comes out. And from there, once it's dyed, if we like it, and from there we try to make a connection to something in pop culture, nature, theater, fiber industry, puns, lots of different things. Rarely we will take an inspiration photo anymore and make a color off of it. A lot of times when we do collaborations, like several yarn stores get custom colorways done for us for their yarn shop, we work with different kits and collaborations and things like that where we dye for. We will many times pull from an inspiration photo from there. We ask them to kind of give us, what skein of, or what colorway of ours they like the dye style of, and then we work off the photo and from there move there. When I make my color ensemble gradients, I do work from a color palette based off of a photo for inspiration, but since they are not my photos, I don't feel like I can publicize those with the gradients. So, but most of the time it's a lot of experimenting and just seeing what happens, and then from there making that connection. And I feel like because there's now 3 minds between myself, Andy, and now Amanda works with us full time, we can toss ideas back until we get a really, really good connection to a yarn that we make. And not everything works out. A lot of times we experiment, and that's what becomes our director's interpretation. So if you search our website for director's interpretation, that's our one-of-a-kind colorways that either something became an oops of a normal colorway, or we tried something and we didn't like it to become a full-blown colorway in our store. And so that's, a lot of trial and error. But yeah, thank you so much for answering that question. I know a lot of different dyers and artists, fiber artists, work in different ways. And this is just what's worked for us and what we enjoy and how we enjoy approaching the artistic process. So if you'd like to ask us a question, head on over to that thread and post your question over there, and we'll get to it when we can in the episode. All right, let's move right along into a round of applause. Last episode, we were giving away a book for Vogue Knitting's The Ultimate Sock Book, which looks like this, along with a 32-inch size 0 Addy Turbo Rocket, long enough to do a magic loop sock on, if you knit on size 0s. I'm not there yet, but I do know people who are. So these get gifted together. Last episode's question was, if you could give one piece of advice to the world, what would it be? And random number generator picked number 55, who was Mona Moon, and that's Alyssa from Indiana. So congratulations, Alyssa. She said, you can only change yourself. Take responsibility for your individual actions. And I think that is so very true. I've had to do a lot of facing of that truth here in the last couple of days between work and personal. And I think it's very true. No one else can take responsibility for the way you act and the things that you say other than you. So you need to come to that realization in the forefront. And that's something that I really need to remember a lot more. And it's something, honestly, that I need to work on a lot more in my life in a lot of different respects. So really, it hit home for me this episode with that. So I always enjoy the conversation starters that I use for these contests. And yeah. So I think I skipped something. Yeah, I did. So speaking of going back, this week's giveaway, is another book that was generously gifted by our fairy yarn mother here on the podcast, who requests to remain anonymous, but she's amazing. This book is Debbie Bliss Essential Baby, and it has a lot of just timeless projects for baby. There's a glossary of patterns from pants, first coat, crossover top, hooded carrying bag, a lacy shawl, a toy lamb, baby shorts, romper patties, heart mobiles. So there are tons of things in here. There's like 20. Yeah. I mean, hats, booties, sweaters, a changing mat bag. Yeah. So if you like to knit for babies, I would definitely want to enter this week's contest. So in order to enter to be eligible to win this book, you must, 1, be a member of the Dramatic Knits video podcast group on Ravelry. 2, you can only post once per person. 3, you need to answer the prompt for this giveaway, which is describe yourself in one sentence. One sentence. Describe yourself. And as a former English teacher, let's try not to make it a run-on sentence, please. Okay, thanks. So, if you go on over to the group, the thread is already posted. You can post your one sentence. That gets you an entry in the drawing. And we will close that thread and use a random number generator before we record on Sunday, the 26th of May. So, that is the plan to record that day. All right, let's keep moving. So we talked about the Vogue knitting book going to Alyssa, Mona Moon. And let's talk about the April 2019 Race to the Finished Object contest. So I know we were almost halfway through May, but that's because we recorded right before May. last time I recorded, it's gonna be May. No? Okay. I loved NSYNC growing up. But now it is May, so we need to give away some prizes. So people post to our Race to the Finished Object contest anything that they finish in each month. Each thing you finish gets you a post for an entry into the drawing. You finish 10 items, you get 10 entries. You finish 1 item, you get 1 entry. But it's to encourage you to really not rush, but to kind of finish that deadline before the end of the month so you can go in and try to win something for that month and get more entries. But we do it every month, so no real pressure, right? If you don't finish it this month, put it in for next month. I don't know, I'm talking with my hands a lot more. So, there it is. This April's prize comes in this really cool canvas. I think it's canvas. Linen. I think it's linen, maybe. Project bag from Knit Crate. And it says, make something today. The Knit Crate was doing some promotional stuff at YarnCon and gave us this with some skeins of yarn to try out. I did not see myself actually using this bag, so it's going to this lucky winner. But inside of it, also from our fairy yarn mother, is some Ella Ray Lace Merino. This beautiful purple and blue. This is 100 grams, 460 yards, so it's a fingering weight. 100% extra fine merino made in Italy. Machine washable and dry flat. And I can't tell you what color it is because there's a sticker over it. But you get a skein of yarn and the project bag. And the winner of this goes to number 187, Sensei Dai. And that's Alyssa from New York. She's won from us before, and I always forget how to say her Ravelry name. But Alyssa, congratulations. She knit and finished a February lady sweater in April. So, Alyssa, if you would please direct message me on Ravelry with your name, mailing address, and your email address so I can send you tracking. I will get this out to you as soon as I can when I am home. Also, Mona Moon, Alyssa, not Elissa, Alyssa from Indiana, you need to get me your mailing address on Ravelry so I can ship out the book and needles to you. And then we have a pattern prize for April from our featured designer, who is Susie White of Prairie Girl Designs. This is her 6th and final month of being featured with us, but we cannot thank Susie enough for her generosity. And the winner of one of her designs is number 209, Large Print Knit, and that is Betty from California. And she finished a skein of handspun for the state fair. So congratulations, Betty. If you would please let me know which one of Susie White's designs on Ravelry that you would like. Just email that to me on Ravelry and I will let Susie know and she will gift you a copy of the pattern. So congratulations to Betty, Elissa, and Alyssa on winning prizes in this episode. That being said, I'm going to leave it in. I don't talk a whole lot during the day, especially on dye days when we're all in the studio, because I just don't. So this much talking is rare for me. I'm trying to enunciate. That being said, May's 2019's Race to the Finished Object contest is currently up on Ravelry with lots of wonderful finished objects in there. If you would like to enter, please post pictures of what you finish in the month of May, and we will close that thread at the end of the month and pull for a winner in the first episode in June. We will have a wonderful prize from our prize pool, as well as a pattern from our new featured designer, who is Jen Lucas of Jen Lucas Designs, and she will be featured with us over the next 6 months. So thank you so much, Jen, for agreeing to be our featured designer. We are happy to have her here on the Dramatic Knits podcast. You can find a link to all of her patterns on our show notes, which can be found at dramaticknits.com. All right, moving into center stage, all things leading men fiber arts. Let's quickly talk about Knitting at the Estate, the Kate Retreat that we will be holding in September in Monticello, Illinois. do go on over and join the Knitting at the Estate Ravelry group. That is where you can stay up to date with all information going on, including I've listed taxi and shuttle services from the Champaign airport if you are flying into Champaign. A lot of people are driving, but if you are looking for a ride either from Chicago or Champaign, just put it out there in the general chatter thread. There are already people who are putting together carpools and things of that nature. So go on out there, and if you need help or are looking for a ride, it couldn't hurt to ask and see who offers. And that's how you make new friends. That's what knitting retreats are all about. We do have our Operation Chemo Comfort hat drive going on in the Knitting at the Estate retreat group that is being hosted by Denise. And she is doing an amazing job and donating an amazing array of prizes all on her own that she's doing as a way for her to get to know more people before the retreat. And there are wonderful hats being knit and agreed to being donated either at the retreat or mailed in on their own going on in that thread. There will be perks for participating in the hat drive. For each hat you donate, you will get 5 door prize tickets into that specialty drawing that I was talking about. This might be one of the prizes, as well as some higher end prizes that we will have. We are currently accepting donations for door prizes and goodie bags from makers of all kinds. I am constantly emailing vendors for shows that I am attending, and we have many sponsors graciously agreeing to donate. If you would like to donate, you can contact us at knittingattheestate@gmail.com. And by donating either a door prize and or goodie bag items, your logo and website will be linked on our website and our Ravelry group, as well as a sponsor handout in our goodie bags. We will be having a vendor market on Saturday, September 21st from 1 to 3 p.m. at the mansion on the estate, open to the public, and that will include 15 vendors. All of our vendors are currently listed on our website as well as our Ravelry group with links to their shop, so you can start scouting out what they are going to be bringing. We have people from all over the Midwest, all the way from Texas, all the way up to Maine, from over into Ohio, all the way to Iowa maybe. So we've got quite an array of vendors coming. We just filled our last vendor spot this weekend, so super excited about that. We have completely gone through the wait list on the lottery for the retreat. So that being said, if you wanted to come and you did not want to stay off-site, there are several off-site spots still available, which can be purchased at leadingmenfiberarts.com. Rather than actually doing a lottery, you can just purchase an off-site spot. That price, please read the details. The price currently listed does not include your last payment, but the full price of the off-site spot includes everything other than your lodging, which you are responsible for booking and paying for on your own. But if you are interested in attending on-site, those may be coming available at some point. But before those go on the website, I am going to be talking to the off-site people who agreed to take the off-site, even though they requested on-site first. So whether on-site will become available, I'm not sure, but just know that movement is still happening, and I foresee to be still happening up through the retreat itself. So I do want to tell you to check out the Leading Men Fiber Arts shop, as we do have new items going up every day. But our showcase base and our ghost light base, showcase is a light fingering, 490 yards of 100% superwash merino. Ghost light is our lace weight, 80% super fine merino, 20% silk, 875 yards. Both those bases have been discounted 25%. There's no coupon needed, and they are all labeled on sale. So if you go to leadingmenfiberarts.com and you click on the Shop Now button on the main page, there will then be a section called On Sale. And if you click there, it will show you all the colorways currently on sale. And in the listings, it'll tell you if it's Showcase or Ghost Light, and it'll say On Sale. So the Showcase is currently on sale for $19.50 a skein, originally $26, and the Ghost Light is currently on sale for $21 a skein, normally $28 a skein. So check those out. I'm still adding more lace weight over the next couple of days. I'm not done with that yet, but all the Showcase is up there. So And once it's gone, it's gone. I have a little bit left to dye, but I may keep that for weaving or, prizes or something like that. All right, last but not least, upcoming shows. This weekend, we will be going down to Lexington, Kentucky for the Kentucky Sheep and Wool Festival. This will be our second year there. We are excited to be back. We are not excited for the rising temperatures and rain that we hear always shows up on Kentucky Sheep and Wool Festival weekend, which is in the forecast, rain and hot, which it's been cold everywhere else this year. So we are bringing a fan. We are prepared this year because we about died. It was very hot and humid last year. But people do come out in droves for this event. So that is Saturday, May 18th, Saturday, May 18th and Sunday, May 19th in Lexington, Kentucky. So keep an eye out for that. There is a link to that on our show notes and on the Leading Men Fiber Arts page itself. Then the following weekend, which I believe is Memorial Day weekend, if I'm not mistaken, we will be at Black Sheep Yarn and Fiber again, which is in Noblesville, Indiana. The lovely gals over there have us about every 6 months, twice a year over there, and this will be our 4th time, I think, there. The ladies and gentlemen of their shop just are amazing folk, and keep us coming back for more. So May 25th, that Saturday, we will be there from probably 10 to 4, I think, or 10 to 5, whatever their shop hours are. They have a beautiful house that is their store, and then down on the lower level, they have classrooms and an open area, and we take over that whole open area and set up our trunk show. So if you can swing by, come and say hi. We'd love to see you. And so that's the next 2 weekends. Don't worry, though. There will be more events coming up. If you want to see where we're going to be, our calendar of events is currently listed on leadingmenfiberarts.com. At the bottom of our website is the shows and festivals tab, and you can click on that and see where we're going to be in the future this year. So we're excited to be everywhere we're going to be, and I love getting to travel the country with my best friend and partner in crime and sell yarn and meet knitters and makers and crocheters and weavers and spinners from all over the country. It's a dream come true, and I wouldn't be here without all of you. So until I see you again, hopefully with Amanda in about a little under 2 weeks, I hope you knit something dramatic.